Good evening, welcome everyone and all to Tier 2 and for the Japanese Grand Prix. So we are here at the Circuit of Japan for what will be round number 1, the beginning of this season's championship here then in BRL. And of course, well, we've got 13 drivers tonight, not a full grid, but nonetheless, hopefully still a exciting race to come. And of course we're at, well, no better venue than obviously the classic circuit of Suzuka, based in Japan, of course, which is one of my ultimate all-time favourite tracks on the Formula 1 calendar, due to many different reasons. I just think this place is something special compared to most tracks, I think, are based on the F1 calendar. Plenty of different characteristics. You've got the low speed, you've got the medium speed and the high speed corners all here. Of course, it's also a very narrow track and also very unforgiving. You get it wrong and certainly you be off the track, you'll certainly lose time going onto the grass here. And of course, well, with that in mind, you don't want to put a foot wrong around this circuit. So we've got Deckley, who is out on his outlap with his McLaren teammate behind him immediately. Now, you don't want to be starting your lap like this necessarily between these two, but are we going to see the McLaren switch position? I think we are. So Baz Brains in the end. Baz Brains pulls off to the side there, a bit uncharacteristically. And therefore Nico will then take the, the helm of becoming potentially the first driver to set a lap tonight. Obviously, Baz Brains, got out the way at turn 1, so not sure why that was. And of course, his teammate Deckley got out of the way down the straight, and that's why you don't want to start your lap the way the two McLarens just did there, because you obviously want to build yourself probably around Japan about a 6-second gap to the car ahead, in order to sort of prevent that from happening. You want to just have a nice gap. Nico going slightly wide there through Spoon, having a big snap of oversteer on the exit of Spoon, as he then races up the hill towards 130R and middle sector 114.2. So I believe he is committed to this lap, it looks like, in terms of finishing it off. Might not be the cleanest, but it is going to be a first lap time on the board then for tonight. And what is going to be the benchmark for everyone to go and chase? It's going to be a 31.7. So Deckley has just begun his lap again, which we'll try and pick up a little bit later on. So next, I believe, probably is Ivo Spawn, who is just coming again up the hill. In fact, it was Resurrection. He's gone into the 129.7, so almost 2 seconds clear of the next quickest, which is now Nerf Pack on a 31.7. What is Ivo Spawn doing? A bit deep into the final chicane looked there, so certainly going to lose a little bit of time into that chicane at least, and going to cross the line now. It's a 31.6, currently good enough to see him up into second place. So we got Chiaku, who is coming around the final corner now. Where does this lap time put him? Puts him just behind Resurrection, currently in second, but is still over a second adrift right now. We are from the fastest lap time of the day, which is currently a 29.7. So quite the gap for some drivers to make up here in this early phase of qualifying. CJ Drama's just gone into the 130.5, so does move himself quite nicely up the leaderboard. Now let's see how Hazard is getting along, as Deckley's done a 30.2, So that's a very decent time from himself to now move himself onto the front row. Here comes then Hazard, who is on a lap in his Aston Martin. Obviously, we've got both Aston Martins, both McLarens. I think we're missing a Red Bull tonight, and a Haas, and probably a Ferrari. But Hazard matches, well, pretty much Resurrection's time by 6 thousandths off than the pace there. That's a very good looking lap time from Hazard to move himself now up into second place. And, well, I'm pretty sure he'll be happy with that result. So, I've got Jayton who's just joined. And that will then be the 14th driver, at least, out there tonight, racing. So, numbers slowly rising here. So is Robsu on a lap? Certainly looks like he's pushing. Certainly got a little bit of a slide out of that corner. Let's see if he is committed here. He's a 10th up actually on his own lap time. So it's certainly probably going to move him a bit further into the 130s. Maybe into the 129s. Can he improve enough to maybe get closer to a 29.7? No, in the end, misses out on his own time by 28 thousandths. However, sometimes it is good to do that sort of run program, to do 2 laps in a row. Just might give you a bit more feel for your car, which can be pivotal, certainly in the latter stages of qualifying. So, right now, Resurrection is your pole sitter, as Deckley's going for a 3rd lap here. First sector has improved by about a 10th and a half. Let's see if he can carry that momentum through the rest of the lap, because that's what he'll need to do if he does want to get ahead of the Red Bull, or maybe get into the 29s. So he's certainly got a lot of fuel. That would also indicate maybe on board his car to be able to do 3 laps. But the Aston Martin, I believe that was of Nico, has just impeded, obviously, Deckley there, which is not ideal for him. Obviously, it was on a 3rd lap of that tyre anyway, so for, obviously, Deckley, he might be a bit annoyed still over it, but obviously he's got plenty time to put on a new set of tyres and go again. CJ Drama, I don't think is on a lap. I think he's, well, certainly not on a competitive lap, because he's into the 135s. As Orton has done a 130.6. Is Xpree then, BGR Xpree, and he's just begun his lap. Then this is his first lap. Now it's not telling me what tyre he's on, but he is clearly, as we can see, on the Red Bull tyre, therefore is on the softs like the other drivers that we've seen do a lap today. So no one's choosing to go for a medium run here at the moment. So Xpree's first sector, 32.2. So that's actually pretty decent. If you can be roughly in the 32 point, well, low 32s to probably high 31s, that's probably where you need to be. So the second sector, we're looking for roughly a 1 minute 12.8, 12.7 in terms of whether or not this is on course for the pole time. It is looking like a very clean lap at the moment. No big moments or surprises for BGR Xpree, who now runs down the hill out of Spoon, back up towards 130R. And it's a 12.3, so this is looking very good, in fact, for the Sauber driver. This could even probably go into the low 29s, I reckon, here. Maybe 29.3 we're looking at, are we? Maybe even into the 28s. It's going to be a 29.3 to be precise. So, yeah, 29.3. I did say a low 29.3 to obviously that 28 sort of territory, and it is a 29.3. Now, Resurrection is improving, but not by much, or maybe not as much as he would like. He's only 29 thousandths up on his own personal best lap time. Let's see if he does improve by any more. No, he doesn't. In fact, he's gone slower than what his original lap time would have been. So he's obviously not been able to find any sort of improvement out there, which will be very disappointing for himself, because he's only 6 thousandths ahead of Hazard right now. And Hazard had quite a decent lap himself to almost match and beat Resurrection's lap almost. So here is Chiaku, who's just finishing his lap off. And his best so far is a 30.8. Is he going to improve his lap time? He is indeed, and moves significantly up the order into 5th. And improves his lap time by about 7/10 of a second. So that is a very good lap time by him. So let's see what Hazard can do then on his second flying lap run here then in the Aston Martin. Can he improve? Well, he's in the territory actually of pole, just a few tenths behind, about a tenth behind to be precise. But he's improving by about 90 thousandths his first sector. A little bit of a moment into the hairpin there. That's certainly going to affect him a bit. Certainly not going to help. As he then heads up the hill into Spoon. And again, not looking entirely comfortable. Like, a little bit of moments going on in the car, which having a bit of a few snaps. So let's see what his middle sector is saying. He's 4 tenths up, so this might be on course to beat actually the current pole position lap time, provisional pole lap time. Just one more chicane to navigate. Getting my words a bit mixed up, and in fact misses out by about a tenth, just over a tenth of a second. So roughly what we saw in the first sector was the difference then there. Maybe could have done a bit of a better job at the hairpin. Looked like he went a little bit wide there. That probably could have also cost him a tenth or two. Bazbrains has moved himself up into 3rd, so that's a very good effort by himself. Let's see if anyone else is on a lap. We've got Robsu here, as he heads into the hairpin, currently on a 30.1. However, this would be his 3rd flying lap on this set of tyres. But the tyres seem to be lasting here and seem to be holding on rather well. Don't seem to be going off exactly. So that is a probably actually positive sign maybe for the race. And in fact, he's well within the territory. So this could certainly see him move up the order quite nicely. However, I do suspect if he does commit to this lap, it is going to be his final run here in qualifying. So is this going to be the new provisional pole lap time? Yes, it is. It's a 29.1. Now, that moves him onto the front row and onto provisional pole position for the time being. But, of course, there is more time to go. And, well, he will not be able to probably get back out there for another lap. Whereas, obviously, Xpre, Hazard, probably Bazbrains might be able to. I'm not sure if he's going for another run. He is going for another run. So, let's follow this lap then around for now, as we wait upon the drivers to start their final run. So this will be Bazbrain's final run then here in qualifying. So let's see what he can do. Certainly been off track a few times. You can tell that via the gravel and the dirt that's been flicked up onto the McLaren. Obviously that black paint scheme at the side of barge boards. Showing it well. Bit of a snap of oversteer on the exit there. having a moment, a big moment, but was a 10th up in the first sector. So first sector was good, just whether or not he can improve upon this or his previous best. However, doing a third lap on these tires certainly not going to be at their best by no means, but we have seen, as we've just seen with Robsu, the improvement, even though it is showing now those tyres were 1 lap hold. So I do wonder were they actually 1 lap hold, not 3 lap hold. That would make sense why we saw such a massive improvement. That could have been the case. And he's just chosen to go early. But another big moment for Bazbrains, and he only improves by 5 thousandths. So does help solidify his position at the moment, but he is, of course, probably going to lose out a few positions, I reckon, to maybe San, Deckley, and to Resurrection in terms of positional places on the grid, as we see Nico off, and that's a big moment for Nico. And unfortunately for Nico, that will be the end of his qualifying. So let's see what CJA Drama is doing. Hazard is still interestingly in the pit, so he's chosen not to come out again, meaning he is, well, relying on others not to go significantly faster. Not sure why he's chosen to stay in the pits, considering he probably could be in the hunt for pole here tonight if he's on a 29.4, unless he doesn't believe he's got any more lap time within him. CGO Drama does improve, moves himself up into 10th. So San not improving on his lap time. I believe he has started a lap, so if he's down by that much, by 1.9 seconds, then that's probably his qualifying well and truly over then here. So here's Expree. Can Expree take the pole position back? He's currently done a brilliant first run, but can he improve by enough to get back onto pole? Currently, he's 2 tenths up on his previous best. So that would certainly put him onto pole then here. So it's one final chicane to go. Tries to take then the shortest run to the line. Is it going to be pole position? It is going to be pole position. Takes pole away from Robsu, and and that is then him on to pole. Now we've only got obviously Resurrection to come. Bazbrains right now time managing to hold up rather well. Obviously right now with that 4th place right now in the bank, but of course there is still Resurrection to come, who is on a lap here himself. Obviously did set the pace at the beginning of qualifying. Can he maybe set the pace at the end of qualifying? He is going to be the last car around to finish off his lap in terms of the top group of drivers. Only a 10th up though, so not a massive improvement. And I don't think we're going to see much more improvement because he's almost drained that ERS battery completely. So I think only going to be a 10th, but can he beat Bazbrains? No. Misses out by 3 tenths, so went significantly slower in the final sector. Jayton then has actually managed to put himself up into 3rd. That's a brilliant last lap effort from the RB driver, from the RB Visa Cash App Red Bull driver. Then Jayton has. That's a brilliant effort by him. And there we go. That is qualifying set. So BGR Expree is on pole position for then this Japanese Grand Prix as he heads back into the pits. And he will obviously start from 1st place, followed by Robsu in 2nd. And then it is 3rd, Jayton. Then that's your top 3. And we'll go through the rest of the grid in just a little while. So, as we will go through the rest of the grid, we've covered the top three. So it is Expree, Rubsu, and Jayton on the top three. Then we've got Hazard, Baz Brains, then Resurrection, Deckley, San 85, Chiaku. Then we got Orton, then CJ Drama, Nico. Then we got CDR Nerf Pack, and Ivo Spawn is going to be at the back of the grid. Encouragingly, though, the top five are covered by only 4/10 of a second, just under 5/10 of a second. So, yeah, I think we should have a good race here on our hands, hopefully. And what do you know? It's a dry Japanese Grand Prix, so not a wet one. And I did say it was going to be dry, and it is indeed. So, for the drivers, in terms of strategy, last year's game, this race would be a one-stop. A very close one-stop, however, that must be stressed. I'm not sure whether it'll be a two-stop this year's game, potentially. It very well could be. Because, obviously, well, I don't know how long the tyres will go. You could maybe do medium hards, which I'm thinking. Hello, Blackbone. Hello, Jayton. Obviously, hope you're doing well, Blackbone. Hope you're doing well, Jayton, as well. Also, good luck, Jayton, in the race, of course. Hope the race goes well for you. But, yeah, in terms of strategy, probably going to be a one-stop race, maybe medium hards, hard mediums. I don't think we're going to see medium softs like we did sometimes last year's game. And I don't think we're going to see soft mediums. I think that's going to be a bit too much to ask. So let's see what everyone's gone for. The lights have come on, so it's eyes to the lights. We've got 5 lights on our screen. It is lights out then, and away we go, and foots to the floor. So, who's got the better start? The Red Bull driver on the right's got the better start, and it is Robsu up into the lead, and in fact, he's pulled away quite well. Also, for good measure, a little bit of contact between, I think, the Ferrari and the McLaren of Deckley and Resurrection, but will they have managed to got away with it? But as we come up the hill, not a good Schumacher S's or the Senna S's, depending on what you call them, but the McLaren of Baz Brains is, I believe, off the road, and he's sailing down the order, then here, losing out all them positions, and now that's then also Chiaku, I believe, gone off the road, and is that Chiaku into the barrier? No, sorry, it's CDR Nerf Pack in the barrier and losing significant portion of his front wing. But for now, then, the Red Bull leads by just over 8/10 of a second, so managed to find more time in the middle sector. Then comes Expree, and then it is Jayton and Hazard in 4th, followed by Deckley in 5th. So, a pretty decent opening lap 1 we've had here, I would have to say, reasonably. Plenty of drama as we look at Deckley having a little look down the inside of Hazard, but in the end thinks a bit wiser of it. So it is Robsu crossing line for the first time in this 27 lap race, as we see now Hazard making a move without any DRS, no DRS activated until this lap, but in the end, under the brakes, it's just Jayton came back, a little bit of contact between the two. Not sure if they have encountered a little bit of damage there, potentially they could have done, but I don't think they have. So in the end, Hazard remains in 4th for now. Now we're going to get, obviously, the tyre strategy, so you know what tyres everyone is on, of course, as we do have a few yellow flags out in Sector 1. I believe that's a CDR Nerf Pack and CJ Drama. And Resurrection has actually pitted then for a set of mediums, so something must have gone wrong. Maybe he did get damage in the end and felt he had to pit, of course. However, still going slow and causing a few yellow flags in that sector, so I have to keep an eye on it. Maybe need probably a safety car now to help him out in this race, as we see Ivo Spawn overtake Gorton, And that's now Alton down into 11th place then here. So Hazard looking at the back of the Red Bull car, well, the RB car, as he's now got a bit of DRS. So will also the RB being within a second. But in the end this time, can he get the job done into obviously buzzing corner? And in the end does get the job done. So that's now Hazard up into third place, as Buzzbrains has just overtaken Nico for also 7th place. Buzzbrains did go off the track in that first part of the, well, on lap 1, to the runoff, or not to the runoff, to the gravel, and turned his McLaren into a bit of a rally car. Of course, unlike real life, you will not get damage for that sort of well, abuse of track limits. In real life, you probably could pick up a bit of floor damage. Of course, the game doesn't quite replicate it to that extent. So, he will have gotten away with it in the end, just lost the positions. As he now hunts down San, who is on hards. So this will be, for himself, 6th place. And San makes a bit of a mistake, and this is going to allow well, Chiaku, and is it going to allow Nico maybe a chance to get up the inside? Nico might be also going for it on Chiaku into 130. Are they go? Did they touch wheels? I don't think they did in the end. I think Chiaku just managed to hang it around the outside of then of Nico, but very, very close call. So Xpre's just overtaken Robsu with the DRS for the race lead, but Robsu's not going to give this one up easily. He's trying to fight back at him. In the end, Xpre just managing there to keep his car in front, and of course to make a move into obviously some of these corners into the Schumacher S's or Senna S's. Some people call it Schumacher S's. I think it's Schumacher S's actually. But in terms of Schumacher S's or into Dunlop, you do need to be significantly faster than the driver ahead, I would say. In terms of make moves into that sort of section of track, you're not going to get past otherwise. But on the exit here, it looks like Robsu's got the better exit. In the end, darts back into the slipstream of then Xpre. Xpre, though, is holding on to the lead. Not by much, 0.2 of a second at the moment. Hazard also sitting quite comfortably in third place. But I'll tell you who's sitting pretty here. It is Jayton right now, Jayton Grunwald, who is, presume that's how you pronounce his name. But yeah, Jayton is right now sitting pretty in 4th place on those hard tyres. Because, well, at some point there will be a drop-off between the hard and the mediums. And the hards will become the better and more raceable tyre to be on, of course, at some stage in this phase of the race. And not just that, he's also managing to keep up with them. In his second stint, he's going to be on the more preferable tyre, not the drivers who you currently see who are on the medium. So obviously those drivers on mediums, whilst they are setting the pace for now, they of course will struggle towards the end of the Grand Prix, especially compared to maybe Jayton, who will have a better race tyre. And once again, Robsu's managed to build up a nice buffer and a nice lead. If he can break that 1 second, that will be very crucial in this race. Now, he does seem to have a good exits out of this corner. If he can get out of this corner, which he just has, and in fact Hazard has overtaken as Xpre's caused a yellow flag in sector 2 with a spin at the hairpin, and that's now given Robsu a clear 1.5 second advantage. Now Robsu, I think, probably does look the strongest driver out of the top 5 in terms of pure pace so far, but can obviously Hazard get back within the DRS? I think he may have just missed that DRS obviously activation or detection zone. Let's see if his rear wing manages to be open and activated. It does, so he managed to just hold on to the DRS, which might help him close back the gap. down this straight. We're going to have to wait and see, but he's certainly probably burning through a lot of battery, which I don't think is helpful to his race itself. If he can't keep within the touching distance of the Rebel, it's going to be, again, very important for Robsu to probably build back that 1 second buffer now in this part of the lap, as Jayton also has dropped a second to Hazard. So obviously, well, through the end part of that lap, he's managed to claw that back down to 6/10. A little bit of a wobble, and a big wobble from Deckley, who is drifting all over the place. Deckley, in the end, goes behind his teammate Bazbrains, and Bazbrains been really good in his recovery drive. Just got his head down, and he's managing to, well, get this race back under his control a little bit, and maybe putting himself into the fight for the podium at least, which I'm sure is where he'd want to be, or maybe even fight for the win. I think fight for the win might be a bit too optimistic, but fight for the podium isn't. So this lap, as we go through a DRS detection zone, I think Hazard is not close enough, but he has still managed to bring that gap significantly down. I think Robsu made a few mistakes on the last lap, and that's the one thing actually you cannot do, is make mistakes, because it's those mistakes which, I don't want to be too critical obviously on these tier 2 drivers, but it is those mistakes which in the end cost you time, and it's going to be about who can make the least racing errors, as we see then Robsu getting very loose on the rear there as he heads up the hill. So them tyres starting to scream. Now, is Jayton then therefore coming to the front? And can Jayton capitalise on what looks to be the medium runners starting to struggle on their tyres, and therefore obviously looking a little bit vulnerable to attack? So Jayton is looking very close to the rear of Hazard here in this race. Can he maybe make that move to get himself up into second place, and then maybe furthermore get himself up into the race lead? Let's wait and see. But the top three still separated by under a second here, as CDL Nerf Pack has now retired from the pit lane and left the session, so that'll be his race considered over then. So on the brakes, Hazard looking a little bit more comfortable at this phase of race compared to the race leader, in terms of managing to just maybe fill the tyre a little bit better. Still looking a little bit vulnerable to Jayton, but here goes Hazard down the inside. Is he going to go for it here into the first corner? No, doesn't go for it. In the end, Hazard stays behind, as, oh, I thought Jayton might have been off the road there for a second, but he's not. Just maybe experiencing a bit of lag, at least on my screen. Not sure whether that lag is coming across on other people's screens as well, but yeah, that lag certainly for a moment there certainly had my eye, or caught my eye a little bit. Again, still experiencing the lag, it looks like he is, which isn't ideal, because especially if you're racing him, could be a bit off-putting, that can be, which I hope not too bad for the drivers out there at the moment. Anyway, on to lap 8 of 27. Still, Robsu leads the race from Hazard, from Jayton, then Bazbrains, then Deckley, then San, then Nico, then Chiaku, then Ivo Spawn, then CGA Drama, followed by Alton and Xpre and Resurrection right now having their own private personal battle at the back of the grid there right now. But for now, it is going well for the race leader, who is still holding on to the race lead. Hasn't really been thwarted from that, and hasn't been overtaken as of yet. So despite losing his 1.5 second advantage, he's still holding on and holding off the attack. We're going to get up the, what you call it, the telemetry. Just gives us an idea also on the battery charges. So right now it is Jayton with the most battery actually. out of this top 3 fight. Then you've got Hazard with the second most deployed, and then you've got Robsu with the third most deployed. So, yeah. But I do feel, for Jayton, it's now time to get on with your race, and to maybe try and make some overtakes. Because the longer he sits behind them at this stage, where obviously it's clear to me, I would say, that the hard is the better race tyre now, which is quite clear. The longer he sat behind those drivers, the worse his opportunities to go on and to win become. Effectively, I'd say he wants to get the moves done pretty soon. Is he going to go for it here into 130R? The answer is no. Again, they close up then, but maybe under braking, we might see a bit of overtaking. Are we going to see anyone overtake in the end? It looks like not, but Jayton has got down the inside on the exit of the chicane. Can he get the move done? I did say maybe the overtakes need to start happening, and we might see 2 here for the price of 1. Are we? It's going to be Hazard down the inside, taking the race lead. No, in the end, Hazard pulls out, and in the end, Hazard holds on to second place, but on the exit, then they're still there. Jayton's managed to go around the outside of both. Jayton moves himself up into the race lead of the Japanese Grand Prix on lap 10 and manages to take both of them in. Well, I don't know how he done that, but he did. He managed to. At first, it looked like Hazard was going to take the lead, which compromised Hazard himself pulling out there. Then Robsu went wide on the exit, and I think that allowed Hazard the opportunity. And in the end, Jayton took the opportunity off both of them. So Jayton is into the lead of the race, and now can he pull away with obviously the better tyres, with the harder compound, of course. But those tyres are holding up very well, of course, the hards, whereas the mediums have gone off a bit, but he is now into the lead, and now it is about pulling away. And Orton has retired on the track. Now, he's left the session, but I don't know whether actually that was done from the pit lane or not. I think it might have been just the car's driven out onto the track again, which I don't think will therefore affect the race. But Robsu takes back the lead of the Grand Prix on lap 11. However, Jayton is still in a good position on his hard compound tyre, considering where he's at then here. So now for Robsu, can he pull out that 1 second, which is so crucial, because if you pull out the 1 second, you do obviously drop the driver behind from having the use of your DRS and the slipstream, of course. Also, Bazbrains had that moment, remember, lap 1. Huge moment, dropped all the positions. And look at where Bazbrains is now. He's cruising up to the back of these drivers, bit by bit. And he is making significant gains. So, what was the question? I don't get what was the question, Stinky. What was the actual question? You know, come on, Robsu. Sorry I couldn't be here to help, but you got this. I mean, that's a comment. You mean read the comment, Pinky, not question. Anyway, whilst that's going on, sorry about the answering or reading questions or whatever, I don't know. But we have got Hazard back up into the lead, and he's taken the lead now, officially, for the first time in this race. And Jayton still holds on to second place. Oh no, he don't, because Robsu's going to go back up the inside, takes the position away, and Hazard is now almost a second clear, which, again, very, very crucial to be a second clear. You get out of that DRS, of course. And Robsu really struggling here a little bit, but I think all three of them are a bit, you know, inconsistent a little bit, like struggling with the tyres at the moment, which obviously Japan compared to last season is a lot probably more difficult in terms of holding on to the tyre. Now, last season or last year on last year's game, last F1 23, you would have probably seen pit stops by now in terms of like probably this would be the laps to do pit stops. I'm not sure whether that would be still the case or not. Personally, well, lap 12 would be roughly the territory for medium runners to start making their stops. Let's see if anyone darts off into the pits. No, they don't, so they all continue on for another tour, at least. And here is Van Robsuk. Is he going to go for it? Down into the first corner. He's got the inside line for also turn 1 and for turn 2. He's on the inside, but it will be Hazard with the inside line for the next corner. And in the end, Hazard manages to hold off the attack from, obviously, Robsu. So, still manages to hold on to his lead now. And he's able to command the pace. Even though, having said that, in theory, Jayton's hard tyres certainly be far better now compared to what they were even on lap 9. Tyre deficit should be a lot more favourable for Jayton at the moment. So, lap 13 of then, lap 13 of 27, as we officially now reach the halfway point of the race. Are we going to see a move around the outside into 130R? You've got to be brave to go around the outside there, and I think he might have just done it successfully, even though they come together on the exit into the chicane, and in the end, Robsu pits, Hazard continues on, and now they go down the hill into turn 1, into buzzing corner, and can Hazard go around the outside? No, not quite. But has Hazard got any sort of damage to his car which could affect his overall pace? As also Baz Brains has come in, so we have now seen our first set of stops by the drivers. But if it has, that might get investigated after the race, that little bit of contact, not entirely sure. Certainly could come under it. Maybe moving in the braking zone or whatever, or causing a collision, more likely. But obviously Jayton has now pulled out about 9/10. Now the thing is, Hazard, through going that one extra lap, is going to definitely be coming out behind Robsu, and maybe at risk of coming out behind Bazbrains, but certainly a lot of understeer there for Hazard, which does make me question, does he got any damage to the front wing of that car? Okay, we cannot see any visible side damage, but of course you just don't know if he's got any actual damage. So Jayton comes in for his stop, and he's now coming into, I imagine, fit mediums as Hazard continues on. So is Hazard trying to make a one-stop medium soft work here? That's what I'm going to start questioning. He would only be, in theory, on, well, at least on F1 23, in theory, Hazard would be about, I'm going to say, well, 2 laps away from that possibility. Lap 16, maybe you'd try to attempt that at this sort of circuit at the very earliest. Lap 17 would be the ideal point in terms of 4 soft tyres to be fitted on the car. So is he trying to do that? It's certainly a possibility, considering where he is at the moment in first place. He's extended his stint at least. Obviously, 100% going to come out behind Bazbrain, so he's going to be behind 3 cars at least. Jayton has managed to, by the way, overcut then here, and was he thinking about coming in there? I think he might have been, but in the end didn't. Sort of like hesitated, as we now see San come into the pits. Certainly going to get the longest stint award here, Hazard is. We'll go back to the battle for now what effectively is the race lead. So, it's now the opposite way around. Jayton is on the slower compound. We got, Jayton on the slower compound. Robsu's on the slower compound. We got, obviously, Jayton on the faster compound. And there we go. We have got a full course caution. So maybe that's what Hazard was waiting for. And if it was, well done. He's rolled the dice, and he's probably going to get a massive reward here for it, because obviously Hazard is going to move himself very, very nicely up the order and is going to take effectively this race lead. Now, obviously the drivers behind aren't going to pit either, which again, given the offset he's built himself, a little bit of offset, not much, therefore puts him in really, really nice shape for the end of this race if he does go onto the hard here. Does he maybe elect to go onto a set of softs? I think, personally, if I was him, I'd play it a bit safe here. And I think the soft tyre would not be the tyre of my choice, at least. I think I'd probably go hards. I think that'd be the better tyre. Even though you probably can do what Resurrection's just done and put on the softs. However, I do think hards would be the better call. Let's see what he does do, rather than speculating. So, he's obviously now into the pits. On goes the, I think that's softs, is it? It is softs. So he's put on softs, and he's now back out into the race. Now, I don't think we're going to see anyone else come in here, because I think the leaders are just going to stay on, given they've already made their stops a few laps prior. Everyone else has actually either pitted for new softs or for mediums, actually, a bit further back. So, once again, I think the race is actually reignited a little bit here as well, which is a positive thing. Because I do think we're going to see some drivers capitalise from this safety car. And, well, we know Resurrection is quick. We know BGR Xpree, he's a very quick driver by the looks of it. We know Ivo Spawn has got a bit of pace as well. So, we know drivers have got pace. So Jayton giving me a bit of information. Apparently, tyre wear really high, softs not good. So, if that's the case, have Resurrection and maybe Hazard made a mistake. We'll have to see. If it depends how high it is. The thing is, it's only, 10 laps to go? Can you do... Well, it would probably be by the time race restarts, I'm going to say 8 laps, 7 laps to go. Can you do 7 or 8 competitive laps on softs? That's the question. Now, in qualifying, we saw, I would say, some drivers at least do 3 laps. And obviously seemed pretty okay to me. Not sure whether, though, 8 would be a different story, if you know what I mean. Have to obviously wait and see, but yeah. I think this race has got another twist and turn to come to it. But, as I say, it has reignited some races, at least for maybe the likes of Resurrection, for the likes of BGR Xpree, who obviously are on the, back on the lead lap pretty much, and are going to be back in contention for what will be the race that is still left to come. So, we are going to go very shortly back to the racing green. I presume we're going to maybe have a safety car in this lap, and therefore we are going to have 8 laps of racing therefore to go. If the safety car does come in this lap, which it is, Jayton almost going into the rear of Hazard as they slowed down a little bit. I think in the end it was just about okay, but very, very close. It looked on my screen at least. So yeah, back to racing green. Then we go. And has Hazard gone? I don't think he has, but he is certainly gone now. Jayton's also gone, and Jayton's about to overtake. Jayton has overtaken. And there we go. Is Jayton going to take the race lead already immediately upon the safety car restart? No, not quite. But he is still there, still trying to fight it out with Hazard for this race lead then on lap 19 of the race. And in the end, Hazard manages to hold off. The attack is, of course, on a set of soft tyres. And therefore, you would suspect in the early phase of this safety car restart, he is going to be the quickest of the top 3 then here, compared to the others behind. So, Bazbrains in 4th. Then we got San in 5th. Does San have any damage? I thought he had a little bit of damage, but no, he does not. Ivo Spawn is in 6th, but let's see also what BGR Xpree can do. BGR Xpree coming under a bit of pressure from Deckley for 10th and 9th here at the back of the grid. So BGR Xpree trying to hold off then Deckley for what will be 10th place. Deckley following in the slipstream, and good opportunity of course under the brakes into the chicane. A little bit of contact, a bit more contact between himself and Nico, which not ideal for him. So Nico then might cause a little bit of damage to the Sauber driver as Deckley moves himself up into 9th. Now, where can he get up to in terms of his race? I think right now, if he can get past maybe Ivo Spawn, that would be a good race. Maybe if he can get up to San, that would also be brilliant news for him. How's Hazard getting on? Hazard is doing okay still on the softs, but it is a question of also when do them soft compounds go off in terms of tyre wear. At some point they probably will decline, and the drivers behind might be the more favourable positioned to overtake. Now, San is keeping very, very close to Bazbrains. Bazbrains right now looks like he's struggling a little bit. Used up also a lot of ERS. Look at how much San has got in terms of a tank of ERS disposal. Disposal? Creating new words there, I am. At basically his, expense as he discharges that ERS a little bit. Obviously, we'll have the DRS as well, but is following very, very closely. So that will be very, very effective, the DRS here for himself. He's well within, the closing range. And there we go with DRS. A little bit of ERS as well, deploying. Then there. And he's up into 4th place. Then ahead of the McLaren. And I do wonder, does that McLaren have any sort of damage to his car, because he's struggling a lot to keep up. He is on 7 lap hold hards, but I don't think that would be much of an issue actually. You look at Robsu, who's also on 7 lap hold hards. He's certainly coping out there fine. Just seems like maybe there's something else, a bit more of an underlying health issue with that McLaren, and of course that is causing him to struggle in terms of the pace of that McLaren. As Chiaku makes a bit of a mistake, the American driver does. Chiaku then, can he, is he going to hold on to the position ahead of Ivo Spawn and maybe ahead of Deckley? Deckley is just behind these drivers now. So, Deckley's managed to get past Ivo Spawn. And Ivo Spawn under also a bit of pressure by the Sauber. The Sauber then, not the Sauber, the Aston Martin. Does BGR Xpree go for it down the inside of Nico? No. As we see Resurrection off the track. Resurrection, I think, has crashed maybe. Yeah, he's well off the track into the gravel. And I think he's going to probably come in here to either retire or to probably pick on a new set of tyres. Maybe try and get that fastest lap point if he can. And no, he's done the opposite. Or the first one I've suggested, the retirement option. Fair enough. That was more or less his race spent, as we see Ivo Spawn, big snap of oversteer, costing himself a position to Nico, costing himself also a position to BGR Xpree. BGR Xpree up into 9th, then Nico up into 8th, and Deckley has managed to move himself ahead of Chiaku, who's now up into 6th. So Deckley doing a really good job. Hazard here right now, then doing also a good job for what is, first place. Those soft tyres, Jayton said they were going to go off, which right now maybe there is a little bit of sign of that, but there is no sign of Hazard pace deteriorating, which is the more important thing. And Hazard's still holding on to the race lead as we head on to lap 23 of 27. So when do those soft tyres go off? That is the question. Are we going to see a move for Robsu here? Robsu having a look down the inside. He's certainly positioning his car to the inside. In the end, Robsu manages to not get the position, and Jayton manages to hold on to the position. So the top 3 remain as they are for now, with it still Hazard in the lead, followed by Jayton and Robsu. Then it's San and Bazbrains in 5th. Then we got Chiaku 6th. Deckley is back down to 7th, so he might have made a mistake somewhere. And then we got BGR Xpree in 8th, and Nico 9th, and Ivo Spawn in 10th. So that's then the current state of play with the current grid at the moment in terms of everything. So Hazard then on the attack. Well, not on the attack, trying to attack his defensively. You get what I'm saying. I hope you do. Obviously, Hazard is right now still leading the way, though. Of the top 3, I'll tell you what, I've done a really good job in battling it out. And, okay, there's been close calls, but it's just been that close calls in the end. I think they've all managed to be very good with each other in the racing so far. The top three have today, and it's actually provided a really good race, at least for me, in the comms. So I can only thank them for that service. So Hazard still leads, and Hazard still holds on to that race lead by 0.4 of a second. Still no sign of those softs dropping off, but if maybe a tyre has dropped off, maybe the mediums have. But we know mediums did drop off about 9 laps on the last occasion, even though they probably haven't had 9 laps of racing, probably had about 6 or 7. Certainly mediums might be going a little bit, and if that's the case, softs definitely be going a little bit as well. They've been on Hazard's car for about 5 laps of racing now, so maybe they're going to drop off in the next lap or two, I'm suspecting. Which could actually hand Robsu a really good advantage here, because Robsu struggled in the first stint, if we remember, towards the end of it, but he was probably, I would say, on the balance of play, the quickest driver out of the 3. But can he take the lead and then pull out that 1 second advantage, which he so desperately needs? Now, he's going for it into the chicane, around the outside, both leave each other the room, very neat and tidy. In the end, Robsu loses out a little bit on the exit there, as then he goes side by side with Jayton. Grunwald down the inside. Now can, obviously, Robsu go get the move done. He's bravely gone it down the inside, locked up a little bit on the curb, almost spun the car, but managed to keep it pointed in the right direction, and manages not to lose any position despite that little I'm pretty sure heart in mouth moment for the Red Bull driver. And well, I tell you who is gonna be happy, of course, his teammate who couldn't be here, of Braden Neal. Braden Neal will be very happy if his teammate manages to pull off a victory today, which of course it is round 1, a long season ahead of us, of course, but nonetheless every point counts, and if you can win, you win. And well, Aston Martin certainly, I think, be the best point scoring team in 3rd and 8th, so they'll get the best points, and probably especially now because Bazbrains has crashed, unfortunately. That's gonna give then McLaren less points. Now, he has retired a bit silly on track. I'm going to call that out a little bit, because okay, you've crashed, but you shouldn't retire on the track like that. You should drive it back to the pits at least and then retire, just like Resurrection did. So that's a bit silly sort of stuff, but nonetheless, hopefully it doesn't cause a safety car. Probably won't at this late stage, but had that been sooner, maybe lap, I don't know, 24, 23, maybe 23, it potentially could have done. And for all you know, that could change the dynamic of the race. But anyway, Robsu into the lead, and Robsu then doing a fantastic job in terms of building up a little bit of gap. Jayton has managed to also find a way past Hazard. Hazard now definitely struggling on those tyres, which are 9 laps old, probably about 7 laps racing terms. So yeah, probably they are going off a bit for him now. He's 1.4 behind, and well, can he maybe just make that overtake? I don't think he can. Had a bit of a moment there, which cost him almost a second. It has cost him a second, and I think he might be even out of the DRS zone in terms of opportunity. So really, for Robsu, I'm going to say there's one more opportunity for Jayton. So can Jayton get close enough to the back of the Red Bull to maybe go for the move in the end here? He's got the DRS. I think he's going to have to burn through the battery, but in the end, too far back, nowhere near. close enough to even consider a move. And if, well, this is a very difficult track for overtaking. So where can Jayton make that pass if he can? I don't really see a place on the circuit he probably could. Maybe 130R into the chicane if he can get close enough. However, for Robsu, it does look like the race win is going his way. It does look like Robsu is about to take the victory here in Japan. And it does also look like it's going to be a Honda 1-2. Obviously, Red Bull and RB using the same power units. Therefore, Honda going to be very happy with that. And that will make, I'm sure, many Japanese BRL and PRL fans happy, of course, to see the Red Bull 1-2, or the Honda 1-2, I should say. I don't think there has been a Honda 1-2, has there? Actually, no, there has. Gasly and Verstappen, I think, if I'm correct in saying. But here we go then. So, Robsu and Jayton going to make history in Japan. Takes the victory for, obviously, Honda. Robsu crosses the line to take victory in Japan, in the land of the rising sun. It is Jayton in second, then Hazard in third. It is going to be San crossing the line in fourth. Decli crosses the line in fifth. Nico takes home sixth. Chiaku is going to come across the line ahead of Ivo Spawn in seventh and eighth. And then I think BGR Xpre, is he going for a fastest lap attempt? I presume he is. Let's see if he can get that fastest lap. Unless he's already got it. No, he hasn't. So he will need to beat a 130.9. Should be doable. A little bit off track there. Which I don't know whether that will pick up a warning and therefore not count. I'm not entirely sure. We'll have to wait and see when he crosses the line, if he gets it. Right now it's only a 10th up, so it doesn't look like having the cleanest lap, but we'll have to see. As he comes through the final chicane, can he get the fastest lap and pick up that, well, extra point for obviously that? And the answer to that is no. Unfortunately doesn't, so I think that might be an extra point going the way of the McLaren, if I'm correct in saying. Was it the McLaren who had it? No, it was Hazard who actually had fastest lap. So that'll be the extra point for Aston Martin and for Hazard. So that has been then the Japanese Grand Prix, and I will go through the race result, hopefully. As we see the Red Bull driver hop up onto the podium with, obviously, Jayton second for Germany, and it is a finished German 1-2. Then we got Hazard in third. And I'm sure Hazard, whilst I think probably would have been better off going hards in the end, but of course, well, as Dietrich used to say, no risk, no fun. So Robsu takes home first place. Then it is Jayton in second. Then Hazard in third. San takes fourth. Hazard did take the fastest lap with a 30.9, as we can see there. Then it's Decli fifth, then Nico in sixth, and then we've got the other American of Chiaku in seventh. Then we've got Ivo Spawn in eighth, and then BGR Xpre is in ninth. And then 3 laps down is Baz Brains, who has been classified. So he might get points for that, I'm not entirely sure. Then we've got Resurrection and CJ Drama in 11th and 13th and 14th. Sorry, we got Alton 13th, then we got CDR Nerf Pack in 14th, but them drivers are non-finishers and therefore will not probably score any points for today. So that has been your Japanese Grand Prix, and until then, the next time, this has been Tier 2 comms, and I've been F1ology. Please obviously do like and subscribe to the channel, and see you all next time for obviously round 2.